that were so hot in the early 1990s, and I can't find one these days. I guess they're still out there somewhere, but make the case that an ETF is not the current fad that will eventually fade away.
Well, Bill, it's a good question, but you got to remember that, the ETF is just the wrapper. Within that wrapper is the strategy that you're trying to employ within your portfolio. So no different than, again, the mutual fund structure that obviously has been around for a long, long time. And we have, 10,000 mutual funds in this country. The fact of the matter is you got to focus on the fact that it's just the strategy and forget about the fact that the wrapper. You need to understand the wrapper, no doubt about it. It's different than a mutual fund in certain aspects, and you certainly need to educate yourself as an investor. But what you need to focus on first and foremost is, am I employing the right strategy for my portfolio?
So let's talk about those strategies, because I think that there are plenty of ETFs out there, Steve, that are plain vanilla ETFs. And when you say wrapper, you're basically just calling them a type of ETF. If you want to buy dividend payers, you want to buy emerging markets, whatever. Make your case for the leveraged ETFs, though. These are the ETFs that Jack Bogle is concerned about. Those ETFs that are leveraged. What are they? And you offer some leveraged ETFs, right?
Yeah, we do actually. ProShares is the leading alternative ETF company, and obviously within the alternative landscape and the various alternative buckets, we view levered inverse, or geared as we call it, a bucket of the alternative landscape. So it's like any other portfolio management tool. The use of leverage, first and foremost from our product perspective, is really used as a risk management tool. Give you an example. Institutional investors use our ETFs, our geared ETFs, to manage the risk within their portfolio. Right. If you're long equities and you want to reduce your exposure, say the market has moved like we've seen in the last couple of months, using an inverse levered ETF or an inverse ETF is obviously a good risk management tool.
Why would I want to use something that sounds complicated rather than, if I don't want to have exposure to equities, then I just don't buy an ETF or I sell my ETF?
Yeah, absolutely. But again, you got to think about it in terms of the portfolio that you're managing, what type of investor you are. Maybe you can't reduce your equity exposure or don't want to reduce your equity exposure. Maybe there's tax implications for you doing that. Or again, from your long-term investment perspective, you're trying to manage risk in the short term or the medium term.
Bob, you've been covering this conference for a while, Bob, and you've seen a proliferation of all kinds of ETFs now. They're not just plain vanilla anymore, are they?
Right. Yeah, I think the question is whether these types of, whatever you want to call them, more exotic types of ETFs that Jack's concerned with, I'm concerned about them too, like leverage and inverse ETFs, volatility ETFs, are really appropriate for individual investors. Steve, why don't you tell us who uses leverage and inverse ETFs? What kind of investor use your products, and what percentage of your products are used by retail investors, and do you think it's appropriate for them to use these?
Yeah, absolutely, Bob. So generally speaking, as I mentioned before, institutional investors, professional investors, financial advisors, who are people who are managing money for other people. So people who are obviously professionals in the investment game and the investment strategy, arena. The fact of the matter is